It's all couples who have entered into a commitment with another person. Why do so many marriages fail? I think you can get one of the reasons from this story. Today's story was published by Rogan in 815 and is about the 36-year-old mother of two and school teacher wanted to divorce her husband and move on to a new life with her true love, her husband's 29-year-old employee. Okay, let's go to the story and see what happened in their marriage. Lisa settled deeper into her seat while looking out the window. We were off the college campus now and moving onto the highway. Lisa and I had just dropped our youngest child, Samantha, at her new school in just 2 weeks' time. We had gone from having a full house to being empty nesters. It was a bittersweet feeling, but also exciting at the same time. Update: Lisa and I met our sophomore year of college, and Lisa had fallen desperately in love with me. We had been inseparable for the next 2 years and married the summer before our senior year. I was in a 5-year program to receive my MBA, so Lisa found a position teaching at a small private school while I finished my final year. Once I graduated, we moved to my hometown where I joined my father's small company as a production manager. My first paycheck came not a moment too soon. Our son Joshua was born 6 weeks after I started my new job. We were ecstatic with our son and formed the picture of the happy young family. 2 years later, we were joined by Samantha. Everything was perfect. Lisa stayed at home until Samantha started school. Then she returned to the classroom, taking a position as a 4th grade teacher in the same district that our children attended. Lisa loved working with children, and it helped fill her days while the kids were away in their own schools. My father owned a small fabrication shop when I graduated. My father's name was John Lars. He was an incredible engineer whose shop produced high-quality specialty parts for a number of industries, including for space applications. Our niche was low volume, high quality at a good cost point per unit. Low volume meant the per unit cost was higher, but his manufacturing routinely beat out our competition on the quality, even at a higher price point. I and my father formed a great team where he was a great engineer. He was not a skilled businessman. I knew enough engineering to speak intelligently, but I didn't inherit my father's gift and passion. However, I was a great business mind. I handled sales, negotiations, and supply chain, leaving my father free to design and invent. I was able to reduce our prices while he kept up the quality. Together, we built Lars Manufacturing into the powerhouse in our niche. 6 years ago, tragedy struck when my father had a massive stroke and died at his desk. He was only 55, but was also overweight and smoked. He would loudly proclaim that eating and smoking helped him concentrate on his designs. It might have been true, but it also probably cost him his life. I took over full control of the business and hired 3 young engineers to fill my father's role. 2 of these engineers were competent workers. The third, Tony Gillies, showed the same creative spark as my father had. After 2 years, Tony was named director of engineering and formed almost the same partnership as I had before with my dad. The biggest difference was my father and I was family, so shared ownership responsibilities. Now my father gone, so I assumed total ownership. This caused longer hours and more travel than ever before. Lisa looked over at me at just 40. I still looked good. I had learned from my father's example. My dark hair was just touched with gray, and I kept myself in shape, never runner. I preferred water sports, such as whitewater rafting and scuba diving, to keep active. Lisa was never that into getting wet, but was happy to lie out on the dive boat while I and our 2 kids did our dives. Not that Lisa let herself go. Long hours at the gym doing yoga kept her in great shape. Lisa's 5 feet, 5 inches. Trim figure. A 4th grade teacher. Lisa was popular with the fathers on back-to-school nights. Having the kids off to college at once was a surprise. Josh graduated 3rd in his high school class and was accepted into the same engineering school his grandfather attended. This school focused on the practical and forced students to take 3 6-month co-ops during their 5-year program. Josh would finish the 5 years with his MS and nuclear engineering if he stayed on task. Yes, where his grandfather focused on practical mechanical engineering, Josh wanted something a bit flashier. But Josh wasn't the surprise. That was Samantha. Sam graduated a full 2 years early and pushed her older brother out of the 2nd place of their graduating class. Josh simply laughed and was proud of his baby sister. Sam had worked incredibly hard the last 3 years to graduate early, and he said she deserved it. Now, Sam was starting a pre-med and molecular biology program at an Ivy League school. Lisa was happy for her daughter, but saddened that she would miss seeing her daughter have the traditional high school experience. Lisa was a bit biased, but was certain her daughter at 18 would be a true winner for prom queen. They had grown apart a bit the last few years, and a part of Lisa wished to have those 2 years to re-establish her relationship with Sam. Lisa turned without a word to look back out the window. Things would be so different now. The next few weeks would be rough for everyone, but it had to be done. Any regrets? I asked. Lisa sighed a few, but I'll live with them. It's time for a new chapter in our lives. I left. You make it sound like we're dying with instant messaging and Skype. It will be almost like the kids have never left. That's true. Lisa agreed. During the next 4 hours of our drive, we engaged casual conversations of a long married couple, neighborhood gossip, things around the house, and other mundane things. Today was a Thursday, and I had taken Friday off to do some things around the house. So Lisa was loading up the honey-do list. Finally, we arrived home and I pulled the minivan into its slot in the garage. Normally, the 3-car garage housed the 2-year-old minivan, my Camry, and the 2013 Corvette I bought myself. The vet was a bone of contention for Lisa. I had simply shown up with it one night, 2 years ago, without a word to her. I said it was a gift for the company signing our largest contract to date on a large contractor on a massive contract. Technically, it was owned by the company, so Lisa had limited room to complain. The kids have loved it immediately. Once the van was parked, Lisa pulled her slightly out of the van. 8 hours in the car today, lugging all of Sam's stuff into her dorm. Lisa ready for a hot shower in bed. I need to run out for milk, I said, even as I climbed out of the van. Also, Lisa groaned. Why didn't you stop on our way in? Our house was 10 minutes out of town and we had passed 2 stores. After we left the highway, you looked like you needed to get home, and I don't mind. Lisa felt a small bubble of gratitude at my consideration. I was such a good man at times. I'm taking the vet. It's a gorgeous night and a lot more fun to drive than that minivan. Lisa waved that off before Lisa was even in the house. I was in the car and pulling out of the garage with a roar of the V8. I was gone. Update 1. Lisa walked up to her room for her shower. She felt like she was missing something. I was such a great guy. In many ways, I was the perfect husband and father. But soon I would be gone and Lisa would be on her way to her new life. 3 years ago, my constant travel was getting to her. The company was doing great. The kids were great. But Lisa felt alone intellectually. Lisa knew it wasn't my fault after losing my dad. But emotionally, Lisa was feeling abandoned. One night when I was away and the kids were off with their friends, Lisa went to a restaurant with some fellow teachers. They had fun and a few bottles of wine to support that fun. On a whim, they carried on to the club next door. She'd been dancing with Barb Warner, a fellow teacher, when someone cut in. It was Tony Gillies, the engineer from my company. Tony was a wonderful dancer, and Lisa had a great time. When the other teachers left, Lisa stayed to dance some more. When the night came to end, Tony called her a cab to get her home. She gave him a hug and a peck on the cheek before climbing into the cab. A week later, I was again off on a trip and Tony sent her a text inviting her out to another night of dancing. Lisa was thrilled and had another great night. She met several of Tony's friends and they welcomed her to their group. Lisa felt more alive than since we were first married. Lisa knew it was harmless, fun and innocent, but never mentioned it to me. It felt a bit naughty and she saw it as her own little revenge for leaving her alone so often. The dancing became a regular event when I was on travel. Josh was involved in hockey, so was usually out for practices until 11 p.m. because they didn't get ice time until 9. He would go home after school, eat dinner and be gone before Lisa was due home from school, so he never noticed Lisa's absences. Samantha was trickier. She wasn't into sports, so Lisa signed her up for a series of enrichment classes at the local community college. The classes were on different nights, so Lisa's nights out had no pattern. Plus, she never went on weeks when I was home. Tony was a blessing and became her best friend and confidant. He would sit at dinner before their dancing and listen to her talk about how I left her alone. She did admit with a shy smile. How now with the dancing? She looked forward to my absence. Tony was her rock. Hesitantly. At first, Tony started to confess how he felt misused by me also. Tony opened up how I ignored good engineering to squeeze more profit out of the business. How I sold Tony's ideas developed to her customers for huge money and never shared the profit with Tony. Lisa was furious on behalf of her new best friend and wanted to confront me right away. Tony calmed her down, saying that legally I had him bound by a contract he'd signed when he first joined the company. The company owned the intellectual property rights to anything the employees developed, so nothing forced me to share the wealth. Angry at her husband's abandonment of her and abuse of her friend, Lisa leaned over and hugged Tony. The hug turned into a passionate kiss. They quickly left the restaurant and went straight to Tony's townhouse. They never made it to dancing that night. Lisa refused to call it an affair. She was in love with her true soulmate. The sex was fun. Tony was the man she was meant to be with. The 36-year-old mother of two and school teacher wanted to divorce her husband and move on to a new life with her true love, her husband's 29-year-old employee. They still went dancing once a week. But any other time Lisa got that, the kids and they were out of the house. She was often in Tony's bed. Two things stopped her from going forward with her divorce, though. The first were her kids. She'd seen enough of her students go through divorce that she didn't want them to grow up in two homes. I was a great father when I was home, and she had enough residual feeling for me to want me to still be with my kids. But she wouldn't give them up either. The second was a suggestion from Tony. I had just promoted Tony to Director of Engineering with a much larger paycheck and a great annual performance bonus. Tony wanted to wait a while so he could establish himself in the position and with the customers. Tony said that Lisa could get the company as part of the divorce and they would run it together the way it was supposed to be run. Tony claimed the engineering and production staff would support Tony over me, who was seen as an absentee boss. Together, the lovers developed their plan for their own future in support. They would wait for Samantha to graduate before starting to activate their plan. In the meantime, Tony would develop his support among the employees, so they were ready when the time came. Lisa stepped from her shower. Her muscles felt relaxed for the first time all day. She and Tony had celebrated. Sam's leaving for school the night before. Sam's early graduation allowed them to move up their plan a full 2 years, and Tony's was really excited. The hot water and lotions had done wonders, and now she was ready to crawl into bed. Update to wrapping a large fuzzy towel around her body. Lisa walked into the large walk-in closet she shared with me. She grabbed her robe and turned to walk out, but then suddenly froze. She turned to look back in the closet. All of my things were gone. Lisa ran over to my dresser and saw the top had been cleaned off, yanking the drawers open.